Okay, so on page 36, if you go down about a third of the way, it is the FERPA notification. So date published is July 1st, 2024 from the California Department of Education. It is notification of rights under FERPA for elementary and secondary schools. The Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, FERPA, affords parents and students over 18 years of age, eligible students, certain rights with respect to the student's education records. So, parents, if the child is 17 or under, students, if the child is 18 or over. And these rights will be number one, the right to inspect and review the student's education record within 45 days of the day the school receives request for access. Parents or eligible students should submit to the school principal a written request that identifies the records they wish to inspect. The school official will make arrangements for access and notify the parent or eligible student of the time and place where where the records may be inspected. So the parent or the eligible student says, I want to look at my records, gives that to the principal. Principal has 45 days to say, okay, here are your records. We will meet at the conference room in the high school, or we'll meet at the district office or wherever. Number two, the right to request amendment of the student's education records that the parent or eligible student believes are inaccurate, misleading, or otherwise in violation of the student's privacy acts under FERPA. So again, there could be an amendment, and or the parent or eligible student say, I want to change this in my record. This is wrong. This can draw somebody to the wrong conclusion. Or putting this in violates my privacy, and you're violating FERPA. So parents or eligible students may ask the school to amend a record that they believe is inaccurate or misleading. They should write to the school principal, clearly identify the part of the record they want changed, and specify why it is inaccurate or misleading. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. If the school decides not to amend the record as requested by the parent or eligible student, the school will notify the parent or eligible student of the decision and advise the parent or eligible student of the right to a hearing regarding the request for an amendment. Additional information regarding the hearing procedures will be provided to the parent or eligible student when notified of the right to a hearing. So they will have for you so if they decide not to amend the record, they will have for you or tell you you have a right to a hearing. At that time, they will give you information about the hearing procedures. So you can go ahead and apply, and you can be ready to make your case. They have to be able to give that to you. 3, the right to consent to disclosures of personally identifiable information contained in the student's education records, except to the extent that FERPA authorizes disclosure without consent. So, what that's saying is parents or students over 18 or over, have to consent to have something in their records looked at, but there are exceptions to that. And here are those exceptions. One exception which permits disclosure without consent is disclosure to school officials with legitimate educational interests. And this a school official would be a person employed by the school as an administrator, supervisor, instructor, or support staff member, and that would include health, medical staff, and law enforcement unit personnel, a person serving on the school board, a person or company with whom the school has contracted to perform a special task, such as an attorney, auditor, medical consultant, or therapist, or a parent or student serving on an official committee, such as a disciplinary or grievance committee, or assisting another school official in performing their tasks. Okay, so let's go over these. So let's say there's a group of teachers, they're trying to work on improving test scores on a certain subject, and they all decide to give this assessment, and they're going to look over the scores and see how they can improve instruction. That would be a legitimate educational interest. Another one would be someone like a supervisor, which would be somebody who monitors for discipline. They may say, okay, I need to see referrals from wherever these places are coming from, so they might know where to monitor. Personal data would be viewed by that supervisor, not so they can, but so they can see where to go and supervise. A person serving on the school board. So, school board members have a very big interest in making sure that things are going well. And so they'll or occasionally ask for data. A person or company with whom the school is contracted. So this could be an attorney. So let's say something legal is going on, and an attorney has to look at a student's records. Auditors, where is money being spent? Or medical consultant. There are, it looks like some, I've seen it on Parent Square where they have like medical services offered along with therapy services. And then sometimes parents or students are serving on disciplinary or grievance committees, but they would do this in an official committee, and they would not be allowed to talk about it outside of committee, or they could get in trouble. And if it violates FERPA, I'm sure they could get sued for it. Or they're assisting a school official in performing their tasks. So maybe a principal calls up another one, says, hey, can I get a second set of eyes on what you think I should do about this? And so that principal would come over and be a second set of eyes. All right. A school official has a legitimate educational interest if the official needs to review an education record in order to fulfill their professional responsibility. In addition, the Student Aid Commission may have access to the grade point average of all district students in grade 12, and, when required, verification of high school graduation or its equivalent of all students who graduated in the prior academic year, for use in the Cal Grant Post-Secondary Financial Aid Program. However, such information shall not be submitted when a student or their parent or guardian, if the student is under 18 years of age, opts out or is permitted by rules of the Student Aid Commission to provide test scores in lieu of their GPA. There's the statutes. So I'm going to go back and explain because that was a lot. So the Student Aid Commission will ask the district for all the grade point averages of the 12th graders who just left. And if they ask for it, verification of graduation. And that is going to be used for the Cal Grant Post-Secondary Financial Aid Program. So that's to help pay for college. However, a parent is allowed to opt out of this Student Aid Commission. Or it looks like another thing they can do is provide test scores in lieu of their GPA. Although I don't know what tests they're talking about. Is that their standardized tests? Is that their ACT or SAT? I'm not sure. All right, moving on. No later than January 1st of each year, the superintendent or designee shall notify each student in grade 11 and the student's parents or guardian, if the student is under 18 years of age, that the student's GPA will be forwarded to the Student Aid Commission by October 1st, unless the student opts out within a period of time specified in the notice, which shall not be less than 30 days, and there's a state statute. So, no later than. So, by January 1st, every student in 11th grade or their parent or guardian, if that student is under 18 years of age, will have their palm lined with a notice that says all GPAs are going to be forwarded to the Student Aid Commission. And on that notice, it will say, if you want to opt out, do it by this time. And that time has to be more than 30 days. Upon request, the school discloses education records without prior consent to officials of another school district in which a student seeks or intends to enroll. So, if a student is moving to another school, they don't need consent to move those records to the new school. Number 4, the right to file a complaint with the U.S. Department of Education concerning alleged failures by the school to comply with the requirements of FERPA. And you're going to give the name and address that administers FERPA, and that's in Washington, D.C. So that's a federal thing. And so that is FERPA.